Number 10. Gobekli Tepe and Aboriginal Australians. There have been some recent claims made on a mysterious pillar in Turkey that dates back 12,000 years. Australian Aboriginal symbols were found etched upon its surface. The unusual coincidence has to do with images and symbols from both these ancient cultures, which realistically should have never met each other. And yet, some of the same symbols that have been found in Aboriginal Australia have also been discovered in Gobekli Tepe, what scientists say is the oldest monumental structure in the world. The big question is, how did it happen? First, let's take a look at one of the symbols that have been found in both cultures. In Australia, shamanistic medicine men often have a symbol painted on their chest. It looks like two U's touching tip to tip with a single line separating them. This exact same symbol is what archaeologists have found at Gobekli Tepe. It looks exactly the same. It is a little bit too unique to be a coincidence. But here's the thing, the timeline doesn't really add up. The symbols at Gobekli Tepe in Turkey were carved 12,000 years ago, while the symbol painted on the Aboriginal man's chest came to light just a few hundred years ago. How the Australians could have come up with the same symbol without ever seeing it on Gobekli Tepe is a mystery, unless of course it was somehow passed through generations, or unless the people who built Gobekli Tepe later found themselves sailing in wooden canoes to Australia. Number 9. Dolmens. A dolmen is a large stone built out of a few standing slabs positioned upright with the top slab supported as a roof. It's kind of a crude rock chamber that is usually surrounded by humps of earth to form an artificial hill. These are almost always burial monuments, what some call funerary markers. All across the world, the dolmens were built during Neolithic times, but no one knows why. They are all thousands of years old. They've been found in Korea, India, Europe, and Africa. They also always look the same. 2 or 3 rocks standing vertically and one huge slab on the top. In Korea alone, there are an estimated 35,000 dolmens. In India, researchers have found about 50, and throughout Europe, dolmens have been found dating all the way back to before the Stonehenge was built. So, what's the coincidence? The coincidence is that people from Neolithic times built the same stone structures to mark places where dead people had been buried without ever meeting each other. How did they all come up with the exact same idea? Even more mysterious is why did Korea make more than anyone else? The dolmens found in Korea make up about 40% of the total dolmens found across the world. They seem to be the ones who really ran with the idea. Though the oldest dolmen ever found dates back 7,000 years ago and was found in Western Europe, scientists don't know how so many different cultures around the world built the same thing for the exact same reason, or who came up with the idea in the first place, making them even more mysterious. Number 8. Bog Bodies. There's a strange historical coincidence that happened all over Europe. It has to do with people dumping the bodies of the dead into swamps and bogs. These are known today as bog bodies, and they've been found throughout much of Europe, from Denmark to Britain. Some of the bog bodies were killed before the Common Era, like the Ida girl, who was found deep in a swamp in the Netherlands back in 1897. She had died at the young age of 16, somewhere around 170 BC. She had also died of strangulation, and she had knife wounds all over her body, suggesting that she'd been stabbed multiple times. And here comes the second part of the coincidence. Regardless of where the bog bodies were found, they all seem to have been brutally killed. They were almost always stabbed multiple times in the heart and abdomen, and they were usually hanged after the fact. Fragments of rope are often found still around their necks. One of the oldest bog bodies comes from Denmark. He is known as the Kolbjerg Man, and he died 8,000 years ago. The body is so old that only a skull and a few bones were found, and it's unclear what his cause of death was. In any case, people have been ruthlessly murdered and then buried in bogs all across the continent for thousands of years, and scientists are stumped as to why. Dozens have been found in Ireland. Many have been found in England, and there appears to be no relation between them. The only connection being the harsh ways they were killed and then dumped in the swamp. Number 7. Peruvian Pyramids. Not everyone knows this, but at the same time the Egyptians were building their Great Pyramids, there was a civilization on the other side of the world in Peru also building pyramids. On the coast of Peru, there is a sacred city called Supe, and it boasts a very impressive complex of ancient pyramids that were constructed around the year 2600 BC. This was actually before the Great Pyramid of Giza was ever built. Archaeologists consider the sacred Peruvian city the most complex urban center that was ever built by an ancient culture in the Western Hemisphere. The site is about 1,500 acres, only 125 miles from the modern capital of Lima. How many pyramids does it have? It has 6. It also has plazas, huge staircases, desert terraces, and heaps of ancient artifacts. The largest pyramid of them all is called Piramide Mayor, and it stands around 100 feet tall. The base of it covers 4 football fields. Radiocarbon dating places the pyramid at being 5,000 years old. According to History.com, that's the same age, if not a bit older, as the Step Pyramid recently found in Saqqara, the oldest pyramid anywhere in Egypt. So who got the idea first? Did the Egyptians make pyramids first, or was it the ancient Peruvians? Or did both of these cultures get the idea from an outside influence? Perhaps from outer space? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below, and if you're liking this video, be sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Number 6. Inuit mummies. In 1972, 8 mummies were discovered in a rather unexpected place. These were not Egyptian mummies, they were Inuit mummies, specifically Kilakitsok mummies from Greenland. The corpses discovered are 500 years old and so perfectly preserved that they look better than just about any mummy ever found in Egypt. They weren't wrapped up in bandages, but were still wearing furs and clothing. They also still have their hair, their skin, and even their fingernails. 6 of the mummies were adults, and 2 were young Inuit children. They were found near an abandoned Inuit cemetery in the northwest of Greenland. They were probably simple farmers, and unlike mummies found in other parts of the world, they had probably been preserved by accident. It's doubtful that the Inuit were trying to copy the Egyptians, but the amazing natural mummification is still a little coincidental. Ironically, if the Inuit had not intended on mummifying their dead, they still did a better job than the Egyptians thanks to the sub-zero temperatures on the Greenland Peninsula. The corpses were basically freeze-dried. Tattoos can still be seen on their skin, and their organs are still in such good shape that scientists were able to look inside and see their last meals. Number 5. The Chaco Meridian. The Chaco Meridian is an axis that runs north to south that some claim was used by the ancient Puebloans to mark where they would build their most impressive settlements. The meridian at this point is theoretical, but there is a significant amount of proof to back up the claims. The theory was first developed by archaeologist Stephen H. Lexon, who said the Puebloans built their great sites on the meridian on purpose, constructing them all on the exact same line of longitude. The meridian represents some kind of ceremonial connection between the places, though nobody can say what exactly that connection is. You might even recognize some of these sites found on the Chaco Meridian, from Aztec ruins to the Chaco Canyon site and even Casas Grandes in northern Mexico. Oh, and even the Bighorn Medicine Wheel is on this meridian. These sites are all quite similar and all built by the same people, but one of the biggest mysteries is trying to figure out not only how they managed to locate the meridian to keep all their important sites on it, but also why it was so important to do so. It's not like these guys had a compass that they could use to stay aligned, and they couldn't just walk in a straight line. This is desert territory, flanked by high mountains that would have made it impossible to connect all their sites in a perfectly straight line all the way from the American Southwest down into Mexico. Nonetheless, nearly a dozen of the most important archaeological sites in the region are connected in one straight line. Number 4. The Curse of Tuthamun. You may have heard of the Curse of Tutankhamun before. The curse originated in 1922 when Howard Carter discovered the tomb of the boy pharaoh, sparking a wave of interest in ancient Egypt that would last for years. Before Howard opened the tomb, he was warned that all those involved in the project would meet unfortunate ends. They would all be cursed if they dared set foot inside the sacred resting place. Well, a lot of these people did die after, but was it really an ancient Egyptian curse or just bad luck and coincidence? The guy who financed the expedition, Lord Carnarvon, died 6 months after the tomb was discovered. He got bit by a mosquito while cruising down the Nile River. Then that mosquito bite got infected and he passed away. But he was not the only person to experience misfortune. According to historical records, at least 13 deaths have been attributed to the curse, including archaeologist Hugh Evelyn White, who was found dead by hanging in 1924 with a note written in blood that said, "I have succumbed to a curse which forces me to disappear." An Egyptologist close to Carnarvon, Aaron Ember, died in a house fire in 1926. Despite having more than enough time to escape, he went back into the flames to get the manuscript of a book he was working on, called the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Are all these deaths simply a coincidence, or is the curse real? What do you think? Let us know in the comments below. Number 3. Dead presidents. One of the weirdest coincidences in American history has to do with dying presidents. On July 4th, 1831, the 5th President of the United States of America, James Monroe, died. This was remarkable because Thomas Jefferson and John Adams had also both died suddenly on July 4th, 1826. The first two died on the exact same day, and James Monroe followed shortly after on July 4th yet again. Was it a coincidence that 3 of the founding fathers died on the exact same day, on the Independence Day anniversary? At this time, it was serious news. After all, 3 out of the 4 presidents had so far died on Independence Day. It almost seemed like a nationalist scheme to make the Americans more patriotic. Even today, some people claim it was all some kind of weird setup, while others give a more logical reason. They say that because the presidents were so old and in such poor health, they had actually been holding on to life and waited for Independence Day. Only then did they let go. Number 2. Aliens in Sardinia. Strange megaliths found on Sardinia, Italy may be the evidence we've been waiting for that ancient aliens did indeed visit our planet. Sardinia is located just off the mainland of Italy. Today it's a playground for the ultra-rich, but 2,000 years ago, it was home to some very strange and mysterious people. There are still ruins on Sardinia of megalithic structures, a pyramid with uncertain origins, and remnants of the Nerijic culture. Let's start with some bizarre artifacts found in 1974. During an archaeological dig, researchers uncovered 5,000 broken fragments from figurines that either depicted the Nerijic people or a race of super beings that they interacted with. The figures stand roughly 8 feet tall and have eyes like robots. They also have disproportionate bodies that definitely do not seem human. There have been comparisons made to the figurines found in Sardinia, linking them with the carvings of the Anunnaki found in Mesopotamia. The Anunnaki are allegedly a race of space aliens that came down to Earth thousands of years ago and basically brought humans out of the Stone Age. But did aliens really visit Sardinia? One of the weird things is that the giant figurines found here are unique and unlike anything else in Europe. The only things that come close to them were found in Mesopotamia, which Sardinia most likely didn't have any contact with. Number 1. The speed of light. The Great Pyramid of Giza has a weird connection to the stars. The fact that the Egyptians built the pyramid isn't really that shocking. All they did was carve some rocks and stack them together. Yes, it was significantly more complicated than that, but it wasn't so complicated that the Egyptians couldn't figure it out. So the coincidence here is that the decimal coordinates for the Great Pyramid match up with the speed of light, suggesting that the pyramid is literally aligned with the universe. The latitude of the pyramid in decimal degrees is approximately 29.9792458. The speed of light within a vacuum is expressed by the metric system as 299,792,458. As you can see, The numbers match up perfectly, which can't possibly be a coincidence. But then again, back when the pyramid was constructed, Egyptians had no idea that light traveled at all. The first time the speed of light was estimated was in 1676. This leaves the question of how could the Egyptians possibly have known? And of course, why bother going through all that trouble to make the pyramid match the speed of light? Thanks for watching. Which one of these coincidences do you find the most bizarre? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to hit the subscribe button and come back soon for more awesome videos. See you next time. Bye!